This is Auto R World.
Most drivers know about two filters in their car: the air filter and the oil filter. You change those, you feel good about yourself, you think your car is protected. But here is what nobody at the dealership, nobody at the quick lube shop, and honestly very few mechanics will ever tell you. Your car is hiding several other filters buried deep inside its most critical systems, and almost nobody replaces them. These are not obscure racing parts. These are factory-installed filters protecting your turbocharger, your transmission, your fuel system, and your engine's variable valve timing system. And when they clog, and they will clog, the damage they cause is silent, progressive, and brutally expensive. One of these filters is responsible for thousands of engine failures every single year, and the part itself costs about $4. Stay with me because by the end of this video you are going to know exactly what these filters are, where they hide, and what happens to your engine if you ignore them. Modern vehicles are precision machines. They rely on extremely tight tolerances, tiny clearances between moving metal parts measured in thousandths of an inch. To protect those tolerances, engineers installed small filters inside the systems themselves. Not under the hood where you can see them. Inside the systems. Hidden, forgotten, and almost never serviced. Here is what they are. The first hidden filter is the VVT oil screen. Variable valve timing, or VVT, is the system that allows your engine to adjust when its valves open and close depending on your driving conditions. It is what gives modern engines both fuel economy at cruise and strong power when you accelerate. Hidden inside the VVT solenoid, a component about the size of your thumb, is a tiny mesh screen filter whose job is to stop microscopic metal particles and oil sludge from entering the solenoid and jamming the variable valve timing actuator. The clearances inside that actuator are so tight that a particle you cannot even see with the naked eye can cause it to stick. When that screen clogs, oil pressure to the VVT system drops, the actuator cannot respond properly, and your engine timing falls out of specification. The first thing you notice is a rough idle and sluggish acceleration, then comes the check engine light. Usually a P0010, P0011, P0014, or P0021 code. Drivers replace the solenoid. Sometimes they replace the entire camshaft actuator. Some even get told they need a new timing chain. All of that from a screen that costs $3 and takes 10 minutes to clean. Most shops do not include it on any maintenance checklist. It is not in the owner's manual, it does not have its own service interval, and it only gets discovered when something expensive has already failed. The second hidden filter is the transmission filter, and this one surprises a lot of people. Because most drivers have heard of a transmission fluid flush, but very few know there is a physical filter sitting inside the transmission pan collecting debris every single mile they drive. The transmission filter sits submerged in transmission fluid at the bottom of the transmission housing, capturing metal shavings, clutch material, and particulate debris generated by thousands of gear changes before that contamination reaches your valve body and clutch packs. When the filter becomes saturated, fluid flow to the valve body is restricted, and your transmission begins hunting for gears. Shifts become slow, harsh, or delayed. You feel a hesitation pulling away from a stop. In automatic transmissions, you may notice a shudder between second and third gear that feels almost like a rough road. Left unaddressed, restricted fluid flow starves the clutch packs of proper lubrication and hydraulic pressure, clutch material begins to burn, and a transmission that should last 200,000 miles starts showing serious internal damage at 90,000. The filter replacement itself, including a pan drop, new gasket, fresh fluid, and filter, typically runs $150 to $300 at an independent shop. A transmission rebuild runs $2,500 to $5,000. The choice is obvious, but only if you know the filter exists. The third hidden filter is the fuel pump strainer, and most drivers will never see it in their entire ownership of the vehicle until the fuel pump dies. The fuel pump strainer, also called a sock filter or pre-filter, is a mesh filter attached directly to the inlet of your in-tank fuel pump. Before fuel even reaches the pump itself, it passes through this strainer, which blocks rust particles, sediment, dirt, and tank debris from being pulled directly into the pump. Every drop of fuel your engine has ever burned passed through this strainer first. Over time, that strainer accumulates sediment and begins to restrict fuel flow, forcing the fuel pump to work harder and harder to pull fuel through an increasingly clogged screen. Fuel pump motors are not designed for sustained high-effort operation. They run hot, draw more current, and wear out prematurely. You start noticing hard starts on a hot engine after a short stop, hesitation and stumbling during hard acceleration, and in some cases the engine stalls under load. Many mechanics replace the fuel pump without ever inspecting the strainer, and if the new pump gets a clogged strainer, the replacement pump faces the same stress from day one. The strainer costs $10 to $25. When a mechanic is already inside the tank replacing the pump, a job that costs $300 to $700, skipping the strainer is one of the most avoidable mistakes in automotive maintenance. The fourth hidden filter is the turbo oil feed screen, and this is the one directly responsible for the most expensive single-component failures on this list. If you drive a turbocharged vehicle, and with the push towards small displacement turbo engines in the last 10 years, there is a very good chance you do. Pay close attention. Your turbocharger spins at speeds between 100,000 and 300,000 revolutions per minute, and the shaft that the turbine and compressor wheels are mounted on is supported by nothing but a thin film of pressurized engine oil. There are no ball bearings in most turbochargers, just oil, and that oil has to be clean, continuous, and pressurized every single second the turbo is spinning. Hidden inside the oil feed line that supplies your turbocharger is a small mesh banjo screen, sometimes called a turbo oil feed restrictor screen, located inside the banjo bolt fitting where the oil feed line attaches to the turbo. When that screen clogs with carbon deposits or oil sludge, oil flow to the turbocharger is restricted, the turbo shaft begins running partially dry, and you may hear a faint whine or grinding coming from the turbo under boost. Boost pressure becomes inconsistent, power falls off noticeably at highway speeds, and then, often without any additional warning, the turbocharger fails completely. Turbocharger replacement on most modern vehicles runs $1,200 to $3,500 including labor, and on European performance vehicles it can reach $5,000 to $8,000. The banjo screen that caused the failure costs $4. This is the filter I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the one responsible for thousands of expensive repairs every year. The fifth and final hidden filter is the EVAP system vent filter, and it is the one that gets the least attention, which makes sense because the system it protects is the one most drivers know the least about. Your EVAP system, the evaporative emission control system, captures fuel vapors from your gas tank and routes them into the intake manifold to be burned rather than vented into the atmosphere. At the center of this system is a charcoal canister that absorbs and stores fuel vapors until the engine is ready to purge them, and that canister has a small vent filter, often at the bottom, that allows outside air to enter the system while blocking dust, water, and debris. When that filter becomes blocked or deteriorated, the canister cannot breathe properly, fuel vapors back up in the system, and the purge valve begins working against restricted airflow. The check engine light comes on, evap codes P0440, P0442, P0446, or P0455 appear, and shops start chasing small evaporative leaks, replacing purge valves, vent solenoids, and even fuel caps, while the vent filter, a $5 to $15 part, was the original cause of the pressure imbalance the entire time. Here is the pattern that connects all 5 of these filters. None of them fail dramatically. None of them announce themselves with a loud noise or a sudden breakdown. They restrict, they degrade, and they starve critical systems of clean fluid or controlled airflow slowly and silently over thousands of miles. And because the symptoms they produce, rough idle, sluggish acceleration, poor fuel economy, unusual noises under load, are the same symptoms caused by dozens of other problems, they get misdiagnosed constantly. The real danger is not the filter itself. It is the chain reaction that starts the moment a sensitive, expensive component begins operating without proper protection. A $4 turbo screen becomes a $3,000 turbocharger. A $15 transmission filter becomes a $4,000 rebuild. A $3 VVT screen becomes a $900 timing system repair. The parts are cheap. The consequences of ignoring them are not. The good news is that preventing all of this is genuinely straightforward. For your VVT oil screen, the most important thing you can do is change your engine oil on schedule with the correct viscosity for your vehicle, because sludge is the primary cause of VVT screen clogging, and sludge is almost entirely caused by extended oil change intervals or the wrong oil grade. For your transmission filter, follow your manufacturer's service interval, typically every 30,000 to 60,000 miles, and shorten that interval if you do a lot of city driving, trailer towing, or mountain driving. For your fuel pump strainer, make it a rule that any time a fuel pump is being replaced, the strainer goes with it, no exceptions, because it adds almost no labor cost and prevents the new pump from facing the same conditions that destroyed the original. For your turbo oil feed screen, Let your engine idle for 60 to 90 seconds before shutdown after any hard driving, and use a quality full synthetic oil that meets your turbocharger manufacturer specification and change it on time. For your EVAP vent filter, have it inspected anytime EVAP codes appear before replacing more expensive components, because a quick visual inspection and a $5 replacement part can save hours of unnecessary diagnostic labor. Here is what I want you to take away from this video. Inside your car right now, there are tiny components, mesh screens, paper elements, plastic sock filters, standing between your daily driver and some of the most expensive repairs in automotive service. They are not glamorous, they are not in any advertisement, and most owners' manuals do not even mention them by name. But they are doing critical work every single mile. And the drivers whose cars reach 200,000 miles without a major repair are not lucky and are not driving special vehicles. They just understood that the small things, the overlooked things, are often the most important things. $3, $5, $15. That is what most of these filters cost. The systems they protect cost thousands. That math should make the decision very easy. If this video gave you information you have never heard before, give it a like, subscribe if you want to keep learning the real side of automotive maintenance, and drop a comment below telling me what you drive and which of these filters surprised you the most. See you in the next one.